Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Escape to Wellness. I'm Dr. Emily Wilson with Sonos Wellness, and today I am joined by Dr. Kristi Tompkins, and I'm so excited to have her here. Dr. Kristi and I met, I think earlier this year through a mutual, doctor and accountability group is what it must have been. And so we have been getting to know each other's work over the last year. And one of the many things that I love about having connected with Dr. Kristi is that she is another avid fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is somebody that I not only love, but I just admitted to her, I definitely have a little bit of a crush on him. So I was really excited to have her here to share her experience with all of us around some of Dr. Joe's live events, because this is his events are something that I have been wanting to go to for a long time. And so I was just hoping that she could come and share her experience. So Dr. Kristi, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Emily. I'm excited to be here with you as well.
I'd love to tell people just a little bit about you, and then we'll dive into hearing about your experience, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
So I'm a naturopathic doctor. I've been in practice for a little over 12 years. My specialty or my special sauce is probably women's health and hormones. I do a lot of bioidentical hormones for women. Previously, I used to treat a lot of men, but I've really kind of niched down my practice to mainly just women's health and hormones and women of all ages. Typically, I would say the majority of my patients are 30s, 40s, 50s, but I see seeing a lot more of the younger females in their teens and 20s lately. But yeah, a variety of different health conditions. My practice is mostly, I would say 75% virtual. So I get a lot of people that want to do telemedicine, telehealth, consultations, appointments. I do have an in-person office in Roseville, California. But yeah, so I definitely have been treating the physical body for most of my practice. And of course, that's essential. That's important. That's obviously probably why the majority of people are coming to see me. But obviously, being a human being, there's so many different aspects to our presence here, our emotional health, psychological health, and our spiritual health. And so I've been feeling for several years now that there was something missing in my practice and something missing in probably also my personal life too. And so I was wanting to find a way to address the whole person, the emotional side, the spiritual side. And I kept putting it out there. I kept thinking about that and asking for guidance and how I can integrate that into my business and my personal life. And I came across, I actually have had Dr. Joe Dispenza's books for a few years now, the audio version.
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to a few of the books, and some of the content has made sense and some of the content has not. So it's one of those things that I got the books, it did help me, but it didn't really sink in deep. And his latest book, I think it came out a few years ago, it's called Becoming Supernatural. Highly recommend it. It's a great book. I have the audio version, and I'm actually thinking of getting the actual book because he has a lot of diagrams and pictures and things that just make it a little more clear. So I have the audiobook, and I was talking with another colleague of mine a few months ago in April, and I had heard about his live events as well. I had heard about them. I saw a documentary on the Gaia Network about his meditation retreats. And I saw these people in blindfolds and these like earbuds, and it just looked people walking on the beach and looking like zombies. And I was like, that looks kind of weird, but really interesting. And I had heard great things about it. And I had heard a friend of mine up in Seattle, Washington, he was telling me about Joe Dispenza. And this was actually a few years ago. So I'm kind of backing up a little bit. A few years ago, I went through a really, really rough time in my life. And I was lost and I was depressed and I was feeling really just wanting to find my way. And this friend of mine said, well, you should probably get into Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. And I was like, who is that? So obviously this was a few years ago. So found his books. And then I heard about one of his retreats coming up in Denver, Colorado, coming up in July. This was April. Actually, sorry, this was May. This was May of this year. And the retreat was going to be happening in July. And this colleague had just gotten back from one of his retreats in Florida, and she said it was amazing and she recommended I go. So as soon as I got off the call, I looked on the website and I saw the wait list, or the sign up date was the following week, and it was just a few days later. So his events are extremely popular, and they sell out within minutes, 5 minutes. And so, and I think that's what she said. So as soon as the opportunity came up to sign up, I got on right away, booked everything. And honestly, without even really knowing what I was getting into, like I had never been to an event. I knew it was about meditation. I was not a meditator before. So I really kind of went into this completely blind. He has you watch these videos. He used to do a lot more educational in-person presentations for all the different levels, but because he's so busy and there's such a demand for his work, that he has you watch these. They're like online courses, videos of a lot of the previous presentations he's done. So he has you prepare for that in advance. And I did, but it still didn't really, I mean, it sunk in, but it wasn't really quite solidified. So I show up to the event in July in Denver. It's a week-long event. It's 7 days. There's a ton of people there. There's probably about 1,500 people per event. So it's an entire hotel conference room packed with these Joe Dispenza followers. And it's a pretty intense experience. I mean, these people are devoted. Many of them are committed meditators. Some of them are pretty new, or novice meditators, as he calls them. And there's a lot of educational lectures. You get to practice your own meditation. So he guides you through these meditations. So you're not completely on your own. So he guides you through the meditations. There's a lot of sitting meditations. We do what's called walking meditations. And again, all of this is so the walking meditations, of course, those are recorded, and that's where the people walking on the beach, or in this case, we were in Denver. So we were kind of out in the middle of this huge conference hotel resort in the middle of this big field, very beautiful setting. So we do the meditations in the conference room, we do the walking, and it's like 3 times a day, every day, which is crazy crazy for me because I was not a meditator before. So to me, this was information overload, meditation overload. And when you're new to something like this, you often feel like, am I doing this right? Am I thinking of the right things? Am I following his guidance? And you just keep practicing. And that's why a lot of people call it a meditation practice, is you keep practicing and you keep practicing and you keep doing this until you get to a point. And I guess you're always going to have those days where you're not fully focused and you're not really into it. And I guess that's the whole point, is you bring yourself back to that feeling or thought or present moment. So I actually went to this event, and I would say probably about the 4th day in is when I really started to kind of see a shift in how I was feeling. And I was a little bit stressed before I went to the event, not stressed about the event, but I was a little bit stressed about some things in my life before, and uncertain about the direction of my life before I went to this event. And so I would say the 4th day in, I started to see a shift in how I was feeling. I was starting to connect with all these people. These people are wonderful. It's just a beautiful, hopeful, loving, supportive, just awesome community of people from all over the world, by the way. And so I started to feel like I was starting to see some insight and get greater clarity on the direction of my business and my personal life. And things just started to feel a bit more, I guess, what's the word I'm thinking of? Just better direction, in better clarity, and definitely feeling happier about my life.
Right.
And I left there with, and also one of the big things that he has you do is he has you create what's called a mind movie. And so the mind movie,
Mm-hmm.
there's a special app, and there's a creator of this organization and this app that developed this years ago. And so you create your own mind movie using this app. You get to choose pictures. You can choose your own pictures. You can choose stock photos. You get to choose your own song. And you're basically pairing how you want your future life and your future self to look like whatever's going on in your life, whether it's a physical health problem, an emotional problem, something with your relationships, your job, whatever, financial issues, you get to create the life that you want. So by seeing it in, you're actually creating this movie, and then you watch it on your phone, you pair it to the song that you've chosen. And by watching this repeatedly every day, every morning, every afternoon, before you go to bed at night, that is basically kind of reprogramming your brain, and it's helping you to actually create that reality. And that's a whole other subject about how do you manifest that, and how does that come to be if you're just creating it and you're watching it. But that's something that he has us do. And so that is, and simply by watching that, you already feel better. So you had the elevated emotions of feeling successful, or feeling happy, or feeling in love, or now your body is healed. And so you have the actual feeling that it's actually happened before the event, before the event has happened.
And he talks a lot about that, right? About this whole idea of reprogramming your brain or changing your brain through meditation.
Yes.
Do I have that right?
Yeah. So the meditation piece. So a lot of us, for most of our maybe waking day, we're in the beta state, the beta brainwave. So that's
Right.
we're hyper alert, hyper aroused. We're in the thinking brain, and we are go, 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 go. And then of course, to extreme cases, we would be extremely stressed, and that's a high beta.
I always think of it as like being when you're like stuck in traffic, you're like hyper alert, you're about
Yeah.
on edge.
Or you're in a work meeting, or you're in an argument with somebody, or you're feeling frustrated by whatever circumstance in your life. And so he has you focus and get really, really calm. And the focus is to think of nothing, and you're thinking of just open space, or you're thinking of blackness, or you're thinking of nothing. And it takes a while to get to that point, especially if you're not used to doing that. And by doing that, you're calming the brain waves, and you're getting into more of an alpha state, maybe even sometimes a theta state. Delta would be sleeping, but you're calming that down by thinking of nothing. And then it allows for more creativity, because when we're stressed and we're feeling in that beta state, and we're frustrated, or whatever's going on in our life, it's not the time to create. We're not going to be feeling relaxed and feeling like we can give love to one another, or create something in our personal life and our business if we are feeling stressed. So he has you get to that state, and then it allows for the creativity and the things that you actually do want to come into your life. And so by doing that every day, and he, whether that's first thing in the morning upon awakening, and that's typically when your subconscious mind is more open to receiving and more open to information, or more open for creation. It's either right as you're waking up, or maybe right before you go to bed. Although if you try to do it right before you go to bed, a lot of people fall asleep. So he really encourages you to sit up, because otherwise, if you're tired and you're laying down, you're going to drift off, which is not a bad thing necessarily. But it kind of defeats the purpose of doing the meditation. So he really encourages first thing in the morning. And with there's so many other types of meditations that he has. He's got obviously the seated ones, the walking, and then he has one that's called heart-brain coherence. So you're syncing the energy of the heart, and I guess you could think of it as the actual heart, or the energetic heart, and the actual brain, or the energetic brain. But he has you get these two centers, or these two organs, into synchronicity and into coherence, so that you can create the things you love. So when you think about something that you really want, that you really love, whether it's a new home or relationship or business or whatever it is you want for your life, you're thinking about that. So you're sending this electrical charge out to the field around the earth, and then you're feeling the emotion of love, or you're feeling the emotion of anticipation, or even in some cases feeling the emotion of gratitude before it's even arrived, before you even see the results.
Yeah.
That electromagnetic energy is helping to draw that to your world.
Yeah.
Which sounds crazy, and it took me a really long time, and I still don't like 100% fully understand how that comes back to you, because if you can't see something concretely and prove it, how does it happen? But there's been so many people that have done this work for a variety of reasons. Like I said, for health reasons, for emotional reasons, financial reasons, spiritual reasons, that have done this work and have been able to draw things into their life. And for a lot of these people that come to these events, they are dealing with life-threatening cancers, and they are dealing with Parkinson's disease, and they're dealing with other types of chronic illnesses. It's severe depression, insomnia, and major skin disorders, gut issues, chronic migraine headaches. And these people, through doing these meditations, they've been able to heal their body through visualizing their future body without being, not being sick or not having this condition. And there's lots of testimonials and transformational videos online.
Mm-hmm.
We actually just saw, there was a lady recently at this event. So I went to the advanced meditation retreat just over the weekend, or a week and a half ago, also in Denver. And that's more for, it's just 4 days, which I have to admit, it was, once you get started and you feel like you're really getting into the groove of it again, then the event ends, which is fine because it's only 4 days. But I really feel like the week-long events, they're more educational, there's more lecture involved, but you really get that chance to really kind of dive into this work. But the 4-day advanced follow-up retreat, there was a lady, she's a cancer researcher, she's a scientist, and she was diagnosed with, I believe it was uterine cancer. And she came to the event in July. I hadn't met her because, like I said, there was 1,500 people there. She came to the event in July at Denver, and she, through doing the daily meditations, she was able to essentially heal her body through most of the tumor. She went back to go see her oncologist just like, I think, a month ago. And a lot of the reports, a lot of the testing and the imaging showed a lot of her organs had cleared. So it had metastasized to a lot of her organs. So her liver enzymes had come back down to normal. The metastasis had basically slowed down. And I think her body was essentially, I would say 80-90% healed. And she was on stage talking about this just a couple of weeks ago. And it was just profound. And, she was, this was her last ditch effort when she went to the event in July, not knowing what to expect, not knowing what was going to be the outcome for her. But through her doing this work, she was able to heal her body. I mean, just a great testament and a testimonial to this type of work. And it's so profound, and it's free. That's the thing is, I mean, anybody can do this in any situation, any age, any gender, any background, any, ethnicity. I mean, it really, any religion too. I mean, this isn't really about religion. It's
right.
And it's just, I'm so excited, and there's still so much more I want to learn, and there's still so much more I want to dive into. And I have been, I have to say, the last several months, I've been diving into Dr. Joe's work and rereading or re-listening to a lot of his books and his podcast interviews and the testimonials, and just really, because when you hear it, The first few times, like I said, listening to the audiobooks didn't make sense. By going to these events now, I've
Yeah.
now gone to just two. There's people that have been to, probably a
Multiple.
dozen, multiple events. When you hear something repeatedly, sometimes it's just a timing issue, or it's the right time in your life to really receive that information. And I had several aha moments this past advanced retreat of
Right.
just really having it sink deep into, my heart and my brain to really understand this. And I want to share this with more people, because I think if
Well,
more people knew about this kind of work, and this type of healing, that would be amazing.
yeah. And I think, that's really, I think this piece is what's missing in our healthcare and our awareness as physicians, in the medical culture in general. One thing that Dr. Joe says that I absolutely love is that, and that I relate to, is that we have, so many of us are addicted to our own stress hormones, right? Like we develop this lifelong addiction because for whatever reason, we like, for a lot of us, for myself, stress drives dopamine. So I get that dopamine hit and I'm like so used to being on the hamster wheel that it can be hard to step away from that. And that being on the hamster wheel is what keeps us trapped in beta, right? But really it's when you get into alpha that your world opens up. He talks about the quantum and that creative energy that's available. Then when we access it, it's outside of our beta brain. It's outside of like the stress hormones, the day-to-day, the hamster wheel, all of that. But once we get on the other side of that, then we have access to this whole different type of energy that some people call God, some people call quantum, some people have other, religious or spiritual names for it, but ultimately it is very spiritual work. And so I'm wondering, do you have any tools that you could share with us as far as helping us understand specifically how we can get from beta, like into the alpha brain state?
Yeah. So, yeah, just to touch on what you just mentioned about the addiction, like he talks about a lot of times we're addicted to patterns and personality traits and behaviors that we do in our life that we don't even like, things we want to change. But because it's familiar and it's known and it's comfortable and we've been doing this for so long, we become addicted to it because that's what we know. And it's, one of his books is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Like it takes a lot of time and effort and energy to really, again, with a solid meditation practice, you can break that habit. But it a lot of times it is this vicious cycle of being in that beta state and we don't even want it. And sometimes it's just unknowingly we do it. So with the meditation practice, again, it's getting yourself to that place, preferably first thing in the morning. He has something called the pineal gland meditation, and maybe that'll be for another talk between you and I, but that's a whole other meditation that he has you do at like 4 a.m. And some people do that. We certainly did that at the first event and the second event as well. And but for some people, whatever time you get up, whether it's 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., whatever time that is, preferably first thing in the morning before you pick up your phone, to look at your email, your Instagram, before you get up to start your day and make your coffee or your tea. You just sit up in bed and it's that quiet moment and you're just out of sleep, and you pair it with some really calming music, like your favorite calming meditation music. Lots of choices on YouTube. I actually listen to a lot of the meditative music on YouTube when I'm working, not so much when I'm meditating, but just when I'm simply working in the evening, working during the daytime, and I'm just wanting to just calm my brain a little bit so I can stay focused and not stress out so much. But pairing it with some calming music with the meditation, and he's a big proponent of 45 to 60 minutes, at least an hour. If you only have 30 minutes, that's better than nothing. But getting you to that point where you can actually calm the brain waves, think of nothing as much as possible before you start your crazy, whatever you have scheduled for that day, pair it with the music, and then you're allowing for creative things to come into your life, or you're able to create the day, maybe in some cases, maybe not necessarily creating your future life, but you're able to create the day. Who do you want to become that day? What kind of how do you want your day to evolve? And it just sets the stage for having a better day than just jumping out of bed and going right to the coffee maker. It makes it so that it's probably going to be a day that is going to be more enjoyable than erratic and chaotic and stressed. And
Yeah.
it's easy. It's anybody can do that. And again, even if you just start out with 30 minutes, he says there's no such thing as a bad meditation. So you do the best you can, and every day you keep working at it, and you keep getting to that point where you become better and better.
Yeah, that's great. I'm taking notes right now so that we can share this, so I have another record of it. Because, I mean, honestly, like these little changes that we can make can really have such a profound difference in how we experience our day, which shifts us out of that fight or flight, out of the chronic stress, out of the irritation and the irritability, and into something that's so much bigger and more generous and more loving. And that's really what it's all about, because we have this time on earth, we have this time in our bodies. And we really, I mean, I'm sure all of us want to spend it in the best way possible rather than just like getting through the day. Nobody wants a life that's based on getting through the day. We want a life that feels good, feels big, feels connected and loving.
Yeah. Yeah, and fulfilling, not only fulfilling for your own life. One of the things that I love about what he's promoting and supporting is by doing this work, you're helping yourself, but you're also helping other people through your changes, right? You're a prime example of the change you want to become. And then there's also, he talks about a lot of like healing coherence for other people as well. And that would be and non-local for people that are maybe in another room or potentially across the world too. But this has a global impact. And that's why I love it so much. And you don't have to, and of course, we have access to the internet and we can talk to people all over the world, but this goes even beyond that. This goes into our thoughts and our feelings and how that can affect other people. And prayer is a perfect example of that, right? It's in our thoughts, it's in our, whether it's vocal or in our head, and that is somehow having an effect on other people. And the same thing with this remote healing or positive, loving thoughts towards another person. It's changing the world. And I'm just still so amazed by this.
That's so great. Thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your experience. And before we go, I have one more question for you. Joe Dispenza, what's he like in person?
He's funny, actually. He's really funny. He I didn't meet him personally, but he's up on a stage and he's brilliant. He's very smart. He's done the research. He's been in this work for decades. He started out as a chiropractor, and he had a personal injury, hurt his back. I mean, really terrible accident. I don't think he could walk. So he was able to heal himself. And so that set him on this journey to help other people heal their bodies. And that was, like I said, several decades ago. So he is now this shining light messenger to help everybody else. But he's very down to earth. He's very practical. He's easy to talk to, or he's easy to listen to, but he's very funny too. And he's very caring. You could tell that he cares immensely for the people at these events. This is like a family to him. It's a very powerful, strong community. And you could tell this is like definitely his soul calling to do this kind of work. But he just seems like a really genuine, kind-hearted guy, and just, like I said, very grounded as well.
Yeah, that's great. I can't wait. Someday I'll see you there in person.
You should totally go. And it's for some reason, I was called to go to this event, like I said, without really knowing why. why I wanted to go, but I'm so glad I did. And I would highly recommend it. And I don't think you'll be disappointed. It is life-changing. It really is.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks
Yeah.
again for being here today.
Thanks, Emily. It was wonderful today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Any other, anything else you want to leave people with, or any place we can send them to find out more about you?
Yeah, they can. I'm on Instagram. It's Dr. Kristi. It's Dr. Period Kristi Kristi. My website is Dr. Kristi, doctor spelled out DocTorKristi.com. They can schedule a discovery call if somebody wants to become a patient. I do 20-minute free discovery calls for patients, so we can have a chance to connect and talk and see what they're looking for, and I can go over my my program with them.
Great. Thank you so much. So I'll include that information in the episode as well, so people can find you.
Cool. All right. Thanks,
Right.
Emily.
Thank you again. You take care. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Thanks,
And
Emily.
of
Bye.
course, bye.